Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be Fnatic and Rain going up against Mao's Mana. It's going to be Terran versus Protoss. We're going to be heading over to NASL, the Shattered Temple.
What a match, man. Mana versus Rain. Of course, Mana, one of the best PV tiers probably in the entire, foreigner scene. Of course, when I say foreigner scene, I mean outside of Korea. Rain has just been doing so well lately. This guy is insane good Terran. He's got such unreal mechanics. He doesn't even seem to make those mistakes in the late game, so I'm really looking forward to this match. Of course, NASL Shattered Temple only cross positions, so could lead us up to a very nice macro game.
Yeah, and I sure do love playing and seeing macro games coming out from Terran vs. Protoss. I think the end game is just so beautiful. Of course, you have those flurries of EMPs that are just going over all the Protoss. And the Protoss, meanwhile, is just trying to do Force Shield, Guardian Shields, Storms, and getting good position.
Yeah, just trying to do all that, man.
Just trying to, and then warp and all the stuff.
And
I just have to go E. No, I hold E.
You have to hit T once, too, man.
And then T.
You hit T, and then you hold E.
Well, I have him in 2 different groups, so
then you hit enter, and you hit GG, and you wait until their army's dead.
Oh, you stop it!
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But TVP is a little bit difficult right now for Protoss. They're having some trouble.
But you know what? There's been a lot of new timings that have been introduced ever since the Immortal buff.
Helped so much, man.
It definitely helps because now Immortals are kind of feasible. We have seen Immortals being utilized in that later game stage. It does take up a lot of gas, but that way you don't have to be so armor centric. You can rely on just that hardened shield to do a lot more defense rather than committing all of that gas early on and getting the fast +1/1 we've seen. You can rely on just the +1 weapons attack or something like that.
Not to mention the amount of offensive potential they give you. I really love a lot of the new timing attacks that people are coming up with the Immortals. Yeah. I mean, a lot of Terran players, the metagame that's been evolving, essentially the way you live against something like a 3-gate Sentry Expand with pressure is by putting a whole bunch of bunkers down your natural, right? So bunkers all of a sudden end up being pretty much useless when you have a bunch of Immortals. I really like that people are starting to use those more and more. Of course, they can be very useful for drops as well to pick off things like supply devotes.
I told you this earlier, but I was playing on ladder one day, and I had 7 bunkers up going against 3 Immortals, and I lost. I raged so hard.
What else did he have besides the 3 Immortals?
There was Sentries, of course, for the Guardian Shield, and then Stalkers, and then like Zealots here and there just to tank damage. But the Immortals ripped through, and it was on the Shattered Temple too.
So much damage, man.
And I was like, how does this work out?
It's awesome is how it works out.
No, it wasn't awesome. Look, I had
get more Marines, man.
I had 4 down like this, and then 3 scattered like this, waiting for him to come into me.
Sounds like you might be a little salty, man.
I am, man.
Might be a little mad.
Seriously. Nah. Get it? Get it? Well, I didn't add in the CLA, but...
CLA? What?
NACL.
Oh, okay. I see what you're doing. Well, you know what? Mana still just on 1 gas at 1 gate. I think he's just going to go for the 1 gate expansion here. Pretty standard play. Of course, hasn't been saving up all that Chrono. If he had all the Chrono left over, it could possibly be something like a 4 gate, but not going to be the case here with his build order, especially with him going straight to the Sentry. Meanwhile, though, Rain going for a really quick expansion as well. What am I saying? No gas from him, so he did go for that gasless expansion, as is so common in Korea and in that Korean playstyle. Can allow you to get out enough Marines to defend against pretty much, so many varieties of all-ins from a Protoss player, while still allowing you to get that command center at a reasonable time.
Yeah, it is pretty nice. It looks like Rain is experiencing a little bit of troubles, but still, it looks like Mana is taking, as you said, that 1 gate expansion. We have seen things from him go down like this in terms of just macroing up, going into that 2-base play, getting the Colossus out, and then making this really interesting switch to High Templars. It's kind of cool that we see that from Mana. I really, really love that type of play, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it essentially comes down to which direction you want to go at which order. Most Protoss players in the late game PvT are going to want to have Colossi and Templar in their army, but of course, whether you decide to actually go for the Colossi first, because you think maybe your opponent's going to be going for mostly an infantry-based army, or they're going to go for quick ghosts, or if you want to actually go for the the quicker maybe charge or blink, obviously quick blink can be very useful, you know, to actually, you know, take out drops, prevent you, defend against that type of aggression. Whereas, of course, quick charge can help you just actually engage into a Terran army if they try to come out for some, you know, early pushes.
Definitely. For now, I think they're all ready to go. So let's go ahead and get back into the game. Looks like both these players are playing extremely standardly, and this is what we can expect from a map like the Shadow Temple. Of course, Shadow Temple has been around for quite a long time. You know, you actually consider it almost Lost Temple-esque. Of course, it is. It is based off of Lost Temple. But, you know, something about having a map out for so long, I've talked about this with Metalopolis as well. Normally, you don't see a lot of action going on in the beginning stages unless it's super cheeses, and that's because all the builds are really figured out. You know, there is really no pressure that you can do. So there is a little harassment like this, but this, for the most part, is going to do absolutely 0 damage.
Well, yeah, I mean, not necessarily 0. Obviously, he's doing a little bit, but yeah, I mean, I think the point you were trying to get across there is that he's not trying to kill his opponent. He's not trying to come forward and be like, oh my god, I need to kill this bunker, I'm going to be behind. All he's trying to do is put on any damage he can with those shields, of course. Just use that as a resource, wait for your shields to recharge, go back in. Look at all the repairing it's forcing for Rain. Not only is he missing mining time with 4 SCVs off the line, he's also spending money actively repairing those bunkers, and not only, and, you know, he also, you know, lost a couple Marines. So it's actually really good damage, and it's a really good play here from Mana. Keep up that pressure. Make sure it also gets him a lot of scouting information. You can see the type of unit composition that Rain has here at the natural. Might even get great information about, hey, here I see Medivacs moving out, something like that, you know. So you can get a lot of great scouting information, even with just these stalkers stuck outside the base. Now, it does look like you were right. We're going to be seeing a very quick Colossus transition here from Mana off 2 base. Already has his robotics bay about 2/3 of the way done, but he's only actually added on 1 gas to the natural. So this is pretty strange. Why do you think he might be just staying on 3 gas total, Andre? Because I feel like you need as much as possible when going Colossi.
It is, but he's just literally sprinting over there. We can see that he's only getting Zealots in the back here, not really getting any gateway units. He's had a lot of these gateways. Look at that. They're not even on cooldown. And what he's doing is just getting his production facilities maximized. He's also spending all of that chrono boost, it looks like, now on Nexus, but for the most part, it was going to be that Colossus that's really prioritized over there. And I like this. He's just saying, I'm going to stay defensive with this Colossus. I'm going to get it out so early so that any timing pushes will be shut down. Afterwards, I will be able to get my economy up and going, and then I'm going to take my 3rd.
Yeah, of course, he is taking out the rocks, so he can go take that bottom right 3rd base. There's the 4th gas finally being taken from Mana. He already has that range started for those Colossi, and of course, as you said, added on those 2 additional gateways. So it's going to be 5 gate plus Colossus now off of 2 base. We'll have to see how quickly he actually does that on that 3rd base. Meanwhile, it looks like Rain actually opting to move out right now. I don't think he's actually going to push in an attack. That would probably be a mistake. Oh, yeah. He doesn't have any medevacs with this army. He has no upgrades. Stim and combat shields are both, you know, pretty far away from completion, and his medevacs aren't out yet. No +1 either. So I really think Rain's just trying to poke out, maybe keep Mana honest, make sure Mana doesn't, you know, just play a little bit too greedy. You'll see that army moving out towards the Zanaga Tower, of course, when he was holding that. But of course, not actually going to be aggressive until he at least has Stim and combat shields done.
Yeah, and this is something very important that basically just reasserts himself, that map control. It gives that question of, hey, I might be attacked at any time. Mana, I need to be defensive. Or if I am Mana, I need to be defensive. And that's why we see Stalkers going up to the top. It is around the 11-minute mark is when medevacs are normally on. There we see first 2 medevacs are out, so we might be experiencing some drops, but they're already 2 Colossus, which just empowers him so much. We do see a scan. Was it able to see the Colossus?
He actually saw one. That's actually a huge deal, because what Mana's been doing is keeping his Colossi back in the back of his base, trying to bait Rain into coming in for the attack. And we saw Rain moving forward with his army. He was about to go for the engagement when he saw how small Mana's army was, but he barely saw that Colossus moving down on his rally point in the corner. And as soon as he saw that, we saw him turn around his army and leave. So, of course, does not want to engage into those 2 Colossi with the possibility of force wheels as well until he has some Vikings out. So we already see a 2nd starport on the way from Rain, so he definitely wants to pump out those Vikings as quickly as possible.
Not only that, we have 7 barracks and 2 starports, so this is like a 2-base super pressure against his opponent. And of course, we know Mana is actually kind of falling into the trap, getting that 3rd base. This is his style. But at the same time, are we going to see that transition that we so many times see, getting the Twilight Council and then getting the Templar Archives? We might very well see that.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty surprised. Well, no, actually, his timing on the Twilight Council is not that bad. I guess he's not chrono boosting that armor upgrade. Definitely wants to get that out as quickly as possible, though. But he's just continuing his Colossus production, still just on 2 with the 3rd one about to pop out, so really doesn't want to engage until he at least has that. But you know what? I'm really surprised by Rain here. You know, since he went for this double starport off of just 2 base here and did add on that 4th gas, he just doesn't have the gas to be able to get upgrades as well. You know, so he's not going to have any +1, and that's going to give Mana a pretty big advantage here with that +1 armor on all those zealots. I mean, Rain's army is so primarily marine based with only it looks like 9 marauders in here, but he's got like 30 or 40 marines. So I mean, this type of army is actually going to be you know, not quite as effective due to that huge armor upgrade mattering so much, especially when you're using charge zealots, which of course he doesn't have yet. He's actually going blink first. Now this seems like a strange decision for me. I guess it's because he's going for the colossi. He wants to be able to have blink so he can actually defend those colossi and also be able to defend against drops. But I'm looking at his unit composition right now, and he has 15 zealots. He only has like it looks like 7 stalkers, maybe 9 stalkers total. So I feel like maybe charge would have been a better choice, especially with going for the +1 armor.
Yeah, it's so weird. I mean, most of his army has been, you know, really focused on getting those zealots, so I feel like charge would have been the better option as well. We do see the transition, though, into Psionic Storm. He is getting all those High Templars. He always does this. Gets the 3 initial Colossus for defense and just starts to slowly add on the Colossus, but gets the transition right in the middle there. That's why we see so many zealots. Not really a huge representation of anti-air, which is what, you know, we know Fnatic Rain is doing. Now finally going into position, and these High Templars, they're gearing up. They're ready to attack. There are no ghosts in this.
Man.
This is the toughest army composition to actually stop.
Oh no, but he's got 15 seconds left on Storm, but he's actually going for the engagement. This might not be the best time for Mana to go in. He can't go for the Storm, but he does feedback all the medevacs. So Rain could be in a little bit of trouble, but he's coming in with this huge timing where Mana just basically double expanded. He did take the bottom right, but he doesn't have the Vikings left. All Vikings have gone down. There's still these 3 Colossi. There's the GG from Rain.
And man, you know, it was so critical, but you have to say Rain missed his timing, even though he missed his timing. No, maybe he didn't. I'm going to take that back because he hit before Storm. So a lot of gas was going into High Templars, which were completely useless. I don't know what kind of build that was coming out from Rain. It was really, really weird. It felt like it didn't beat anything.
It did feel like that. I mean, he had it on the 2nd starport because he, you know, frantically realized that he hadn't scouted the Colossi in time, so he was going to try to catch up. But then I feel like he didn't utilize both starports effectively. He didn't have that high medevac count at the end. The Templar were still able to feedback, though, of course, so that did hurt him quite a bit. But I feel like Rain, you know, he just went for this big 2-base all-in, and it wasn't the best timing because if you look at the timing when Mana took his 3rd, Mana had already had his 3rd for quite a while there, and Rain waited. He just kind of sat around in the middle of the map and just didn't go for any aggression, didn't take a 3rd command center of his own, so was clearly just going all in off 2-base, but didn't actually attack in. He waited until Mana was actually able to get enough Colossi out and enough Templar to be able to feedback, you know, and those upgrades to complete. You know, that +1 armor actually made a huge difference in that last engagement since he was so heavily zealot focused.
That's another thing. Why wouldn't you get something like a +1 attack timing? It's such a cheap upgrade. You know it's going to be 15 minutes into the game. If your opponent doesn't have any upgrades, then they're being very, very careless with their entire build. Rain just did not, I just felt like he didn't have a build put together for this particular map, which is so uncharacteristic of any pro player, especially a map like the Shattered Temple. Kind of a shame, but, you know, Mana is going to take it 1-0. We're going to go into our next map in a little bit. Everybody stay tuned. We'll be back after this break.